State as well, but Super Bowl Sunday at ECU. A pitfall for Cincinnati, which goes with a very similar starting lineup. 10th start of the year, all in conference for Jermaine Sanders. The leading scorer is Troy Copain. Same lineup in all but one game for Ed Conroy and Tulane. The three guards are key: Stark, Dabney, and Hook. And so Tulane and Cincinnati on Valentine's.
Free up their guards on the perimeter.
Ready to go from Fifth Third Arena. And Octavius Ellis wins the tap. Back to the sophomore point guard out of Northern Virginia, Troy Copain, the leading scorer for the Cincinnati Bearcats at 10 a game, top 25 of the conference in scoring. Here is Jermaine Sanders, the senior. Octavius Ellis off the face-up. No offensive rebound for Cincinnati. One and done, and here comes Tulane. Jonathan Stark has had some big scoring games this year. This is a very guard-oriented team.
It would be recommended to Tulane to push the ball very, very quickly up the floor in transition before Cincinnati sets their changing defenses.
Tulane fifth in the league, 66 points a game, though that has dropped off in a 5-game losing streak for the Green Wave, who were 4-2 in the lead. Drive and kick, Dabney with 5 to shoot, got it off and missed it. Out of bounds to the Bearcats.
It was a good play by Jonathan Stark. Recognition, not only the shot clock, but to find Lewis Dabney setting up on the wing on the driving kick. But Dabney's got to get a little closer. I mean, he was not guarded. He could have stepped into the shot, into the three-point line. Instead, he shot an NBA three.
You saw Larry Davis, the associate head coach, in for Mick Cronin, who has a condition called vascular dissection. It's a separation of the blood vessel walls, something that's very treatable, non-life-threatening, but he's off the sideline. Larry Davis has taken over. Sanders is fouled on the move, but Larry Davis does have head coaching experience. It feels like he's grown into the position, sort of figuring out where he stands.
Well, from day one, Larry Davis has been comfortable. You know, he has been Mick Cronin's right-hand man, experienced and trusted by Mick Cronin. But Mick Cronin has given him the reins, he's given him the keys, and stayed away. You know, he's here, he's around the program at practices, but there's no question Larry Davis's word is the final word right now as he steps in as the coach.
Tulane's done a good job keeping Cincinnati off the offensive glass. The size advantage to the Bearcats, a top 3 rebounding margin team in the American. So how does Tulane score today is the question.
Well, their bread is buttered on the perimeter, and Cincinnati's going to make it very difficult for their guards to get free. And they're going to have to get out in transition and get loose, which means their big front line, or their front line of Smith and Dry and Osakowski, they're going to have to get up on the glass. And they can't allow Cincinnati offensive opportunities and the rebounding on the offensive glass, because if they do, they won't get any easy baskets.
Bearcats are 7th best in the country in scoring defense. Mick Cronin, that's a key for him. In the lane, Sanders couldn't finish at a late whistle.
Jermaine Sanders, since he has been put into the starting lineup, Cincinnati has looked better on offense. He's more of a skill guy. He can step out and make a three. He's not a high percentage shooter, but he's a good passer. He's kind of a glue guy out there on the floor, kind of a Larry Brown type guy that Larry Brown has always had in his lineup. And I like that move of putting Sanders in the lineup. And getting back to Larry Davis and Mick Cronin and the relationship, I think Mick has just done an unbelievable job of still being around the program, but making sure that the players know that Larry Davis is in charge once the game starts, and his decisions are going to be final. And the great Mike DeCourcy wrote a tremendous article. He spent an evening with Mick on watching a game, and I'm sure that was nerve-wracking for all, but really gave a lot great insight into what it's like. And it's very difficult for Mick, but he's doing well health-wise, and that's great to see. And it's great to see his dad here today as well.
Pat Cronin, a big Bearcat supporter. One of the first families in Cincinnati basketball. Partially blocked out on the perimeter by Gary Clark, the freshman. Pretty young lineup for Cincinnati. Copain to Johnson. And the board for Hook and Tulane. Also
help with Tulane's peskier on defense. Maybe tries to turn Cincinnati over, and that's good rushing the ball up the court because Cincinnati on the nights where they've turned it over have been vulnerable. 17 turnovers against Temple, and Temple ran them out of the building in Philadelphia. So attack those bigs when they catch the ball because the Cincinnati's bigs do not pass it very well.
You know, and Cincinnati didn't force many turnovers in that game either. Just 8 from Temple in that 16-point win last time out. Clark off the lean in, and Cincinnati has missed close range quite a bit tonight.
Gary Clark has got to explode to the rim and kind of short-armed it at the bucket, expecting to get fouled, but Tulane gives it right back.
Cincinnati's open 0 for 4 on the offensive end. That was the problem when we were here about a month ago. Cincinnati had missed some close-range shots and lost a couple of games because of it. That's a wild pass, intercepted.
Nice job by Tulane presenting their own version of a little bit of a matchup defense, and Cincinnati kind of just passing around the perimeter right now, looking a little confused offensively.
Tulane spending some time on the offensive end. Here's Lewis Dabney, the leading scorer for this team at 13.5 a game. 5 to shoot for Dabney, whirling in the lane, and Tulane will keep it. 15:44 to go in the first. Just one field goal so far, and the Green Wave with a 2-1 advantage.
Time dunker, Dr. J, Julius Erving.
That's a travesty, Dr. J.
You weren't even born then, so
I was one.
We'll talk about it later.
2-1 Tulane. 1 for 8 combined start from the floor for these two teams. Jay Hook, the third leading scorer, a key guard, a senior from Waco. Ball deflected in the lane, out of bounds to Cincinnati.
Well, the problem Tulane has right now against this zone is when their guards do attack and throw it inside to the bigs. Temple's front line is going to have major problems scoring against Octavius Ellis, Gary Clark, Shaq Thomas, Karante DeBerry. I mean, they're all very long, athletic, and great rim protectors. So Tulane's guards better be ready to make plays on their own from the perimeter.
Third turnover on 6 possessions for Tulane. Cincinnati hadn't been much better, though the Bearcats might be able to say they've gotten some shots that they want. Deshaun Mormon, the freshman, into the ball game. Also Farad Cobb, whose scoring is well up in the month of February.
Farad Cobb gives them that offensive spark, and you saw it in the second half of the SMU game where he made some great one-on-one plays. But his issue has been, being a consistent defender, and that's where Cincinnati, that's who they are. That's where they're going to hang their hat on. And that's their identity. So if Farad Cobb wants major minutes going down the stretch, he's got to become a more consistent, solid defender.
Mormon mishandled and hits the floater.
Well, that's a way to get some minutes. Deshaun Mormon finding that gap, the freshman.
And on the first field goal, you saw the newspaper confetti go a-flying on Valentine's Day. Dylan Osikowski into the ball game, the young big for Tulane. Herlihy too long on the 3, and the rebound for Cobb, and Cincinnati willing to run. Sanders, the trailer, off the mark. Wow, shot for start. Game gets a little bit loose. Who does that favor?
I'm not sure. I don't think either team wants to play it too loose. I mean, I would say Tulane, but Tulane has had problems finishing even in transition. Their issue is scoring, and they've got to get Dabney going. He's a guy that can take the control of the game, but they have to look for him.
Cincinnati, you mentioned struggling with the turnovers, especially in their losses this year. Out of the 7 losses, 6 have been pretty full of turnovers.
Well, which Cincinnati team are you going to see? Most nights here on this court, you've seen a good, rock-solid defensive team, a team that's going to take care of the basketball, shares it well, and they're going to have a octane offense, but solid offense. But on the road, that's where they've had their issues consistency. Even in the SMU game, they had 17 turnovers, and they were fortunate they had a lot of their first half turnovers, which they had 13 turned into SMU points. And then in the second half, they really were very un-Cincinnati-like and just knocking down a lot of perimeter shots.
Shots that made Larry Brown, who we saw a couple days later, lose a little sleep. Stolen away by Cobb and a free run to the rim.
That'll be a check mark in the defensive effort column for Cobb.
Stark with it blocked away. Coriante DeBerry wiped it out.
Well, Jonathan Stark does a nice job. He just kind of blows by Farad Cobb. Cobb gambles, but you're not going to finish that. He's got to stop in the lane and either drive and kick, look for one of his shooters on the perimeter, or shoot the little teardrop. But he's going to get all the way to the rim against that front line.
It's a Tulane team that's in its first year in the American, and that might be one of those shots, right, that maybe you don't have the same eraser on the back end in Conference USA?
Well, that's the problem I think that Tulane has faced at times, that their guards, the physicality of the guard play in this conference, and also the rim protectors that you're going to see from the Cincinnati, UConn, and such.
John Mack couldn't handle the pass from Peyton Henson, and there's turnover number 5 for Tulane in less than 7 minutes.
Henson's a good passer. That's why Ed Conroy's going to give him a few more minutes today. They need some skill from the front line against this Cincinnati pressure and changing defenses.
Jack Thomas is in. He shot the ball very well the last couple of weeks. Norman, tough shot. Rebound for Stark, the sophomore out of Munford, Tennessee, not far from Memphis. Henson gets the bucket and the foul on the continuation. So the sophomore from Arkansas makes it a 1-point game.
Oh, it's a nice take by Henson off the bounce, a little ball fake. You know, very skilled as a passer, not known as a scorer, but good body control in the lane.
70% foul shooter. DeBerry the rebound. Bunch of subs in there for Cincinnati. Cobb along with Mormon, DeBerry, and Jack Thomas. Only starter on the floor is Ellis. Thomas lifted out. Mormon battling for the rebound. And a tie-up. Tulane will have it. Women's college basketball coming up Sunday at noon on ESPNU. Rebound time for South Carolina, still #1, taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores after the big win from your guy, Gino Auriemma. That's Sunday at noon on ESPNU.
Well, Gino doesn't like anybody coming into stores and being #1 other than himself. So TCB took care of business Monday night, but South Carolina will be looking for that rematch, I'm sure, in the Final Four.
Tulane will keep it off the deflection of the inbound. Cincinnati, some token pressure in the backcourt.
Good job by Tulane. Stay organized against the pressure. Don't panic. Space the floor. Beat the press with the pass.
Cincinnati has 5 points. All of them have come off turnovers. Henson gives Tulane the lead. 4 for Peyton Henson on an average of 5.5.
Well, Ed Conroy knew this. He said Peyton Henson's going to get some minutes today. He has a good feel against his own. They're flashing into the open gap.
Dabney, such a good scorer. Too strong from the lane at DeBerry with his second rebound.
Dabney's got to try to get to the free throw line. He just kind of heaved it up and didn't really shoot the ball.
30% of his scoring last year came from the free throw line. Usually quite adept at getting that contact. Mack clears it for Tulane. Cincinnati is open 2 for 11. It's a block against the Bearcats. 6-5 Tulane with the lead. 8.5 in from Cincinnati. For love of the double.
The TLM, there's always time for her.
You know, as a coach, you spend a lot of Valentine's days on the road.
Goodness. It's a fake holiday, but I'm glad we're attacking it with a lot of love.
This is going really well for you and Meg right now.
Oh, my
fake
goodness.
holiday.
It's hoop season. Joe Lenardi's in full swing. That's all we got to talk about.
Be my bracketologist candies are selling like hotcakes. Osipkowski to the free throw line for 2 shots.
Well, meanwhile, basketball-wise, Tulane has kind of settled into this game. I mean, at the beginning of this game, they kind of were on their heels offensively, looking at that Cincinnati zone, just passing it around. When they drove into the gaps, didn't really know what to do. But now they've spaced the floor better. They're not trying to beat it with the dribble. They're beating it with the pass. And good movement by the front line, flashing into the open gaps, which has opened up a couple avenues and lanes for Tulane to the rim.
Why is the pass so important as DeBerry comes out with 2 fouls? Why is the pass so important against the zone?
Well, because the ball moves on the pass much quicker than it does off the dribble, and Cincinnati is so athletic and long. If you can find the gaps with the pass, then you're going to be able to find some open areas. And right now, Tulane has done a better job with that in the last few minutes.
5 in a row for the Green Wave, trying to pick up win number 5 in conference. They've lost 5 in a row. Tipped by Herlihy and stolen away. Turnover number 3 for the Bearcats.
Tulane has had their struggles at times this year, and most recently against some of the upper echelon clubs of this league, but their defense has always been rock solid. Their problem has been on the offensive end of the floor.
Herlihy tees up another. He's 0 for 2 for 3 as Henson strapped for the rebound.
Scrappy, but this is only one game in the last 2 weeks, so they're anxious to get off the practice floor and play a real ball game. And Ed Conroy's team is very focused this afternoon.
During a 5-game losing streak, you see the offense just hasn't been there. 50 points a game. The threes are down from the season average of 33% and 7 halves under 30.
Well, they're wearing out a little bit. I think teams are loading up. They understand that it's about Stark, Dabney, and Hook, and they just have to have a little bit more help from their front line. And today, they've received it so far with nice contributions from Henson and Hurley off the bench.
They're +6 in the rebounds early on. Osipkowski on the step through, banks it in.
Oh, the big fella. They looked to double him down low, and then they retreated on the double, and he took advantage, took his time, and a nice little power hook.
That's the type of help you're looking for, right?
Absolutely. He's a good-looking player. He's a good-looking freshman. I like him. They like him a lot, too, Ed Conroy.
Nice explosion from Octavius Ellis, and he scores at the second chance, breaking a 7-0 run.
Sikowski cannot try to flop in there. He's got to just hold his ground with his big chest in the middle of the floor.
A little easier to do right now, too, with Gary Clark on the bench with 2 fouls for Cincinnati.
Well, Sikowski has this ability, but they've got to crowd him a little bit more. I mean, they can't not go for that pump fake, although that was a very difficult shot. Tulane playing a little bit more confident than we've seen in the last couple weeks.
Tough stretch with UConn, SMU, and Tulsa all in a row to start that 5-game losing streak. Memphis mixed in there. 3 to shoot. Herlihy doesn't realize it. Blocked away, and a shot clock violation as Ellis got a hand on it.
Ed Conroy clapping on the sideline because his team was patient. You know, they probed, they didn't force things, and you know, at times you don't mind that because you don't want to force things which will lead to easy Cincinnati baskets.
You almost say to your team, we prefer a shot clock violation?
Well, no, you don't say that, but also you just say, be patient, take what the defense gives you. And the defense themselves have been very active tonight.
Timeout Tulane. The Green Wave will have it under 9 to go in the first half. And we told you earlier on, Cincinnati needs this game.
So when you go to Hartford, you get a bye the first day in the American Conference Tournament.
One piece of good news for Cincinnati is the losses are looking better. Ole Miss, a team that beat them earlier in the year, has won 6 in a row. Win over San Diego State still stands a pretty good win for the Bearcats.
Well, we've seen Cincinnati start slowly before in this building and just kind of wake up. You know, the crowd is a little bit lethargic. It's blustery out, and it's just they're kind of feeling their way into this game. But they've got to be more active with the defense, which they can turn it into offense.
Oh, Jay Hook late in the shot clock. Can't hit the rebound for Shaq Thomas. Cincinnati 3 out of 13 to open the game. Ellis got a good look. Rebound for Dabney. Cincinnati just 1 loss in this building all season. 2 the last 2 years. The only conference loss, a 1-point defeat to Louisville last season. Jay Hook's not shy. He banks it in for 3.
Goodness, that window's getting a workout between Osakowski's hooks and Hook's three-pointers, but it's really been Tulane's defense that has been the story. A 3-2 matchup. They're taking away the perimeter game from Copain. They're giving him that pass right there, and they're saying, okay, beat us from the elbow. Who can make a play for Cincinnati?
10 to shoot for Johnson. Nearly traveled. Ellis gets the roll. 4 for Octavius Ellis.
Well, Cincinnati's going to be successful. I would not go into that elbow area because they don't have a lot of delivery men right there. Maybe Shaq Thomas, but Ellis can finish inside. He stays active, presents himself. He can have a big night.
4 of the 9 for the junior out of Memphis and Trinity Valley College. Steal on the entry feed. Shaq Thomas had Copain and an offensive foul as Thomas took it himself.
A lot of transition. Shaq Thomas trying to make a move to the rim. And
in the cadet corps, the highest rank for a basketball player in the modern era of the Citadel, and it came with that wonderful uniform.
Well, of course, these two know each other very well from Ed's coaching days at Citadel, and Larry just up the road as the head coach. Larry did a really good job as the head coach at Furman, highly respected as a head coach, and now doing a super job filling in for Mick Cronin.
We were talking to Mick Cronin previously, and he said, look, that's the reason you hire good assistants, just in case something like that happens.
Well, Mick's such a smart guy. He understands. He thinks everything out. He knows that. And he said that, listen, I put myself in his shoes. What would I want? How would I want the head coach to act? How do I want him to react? So he's empowered Larry Davis from that perspective, and that's why Mick's been so successful. Every little thing that happens in a program, you cannot plan for stuff like this. Just like you can't plan for that brawl that they had with Cincinnati Xavier a few years ago, but you couldn't have handled it any better than Mick Cronin did. And they came out smelling so good from an ugly situation because of the way Mick Cronin handled that situation that you never would have thought could have come up.
Endeared himself to the people here in Cincinnati as well with the way he impressively handled that. And that game's coming up on Wednesday as well. But
well, there's no manual for a lot of things that happen as a coach. You know how to drop out of bounds plays and change defenses and go recruit players, but a lot of things happen that you have to react with and think it out. And that's why I think Mick is really special, because he doesn't overreact, but he really is smart the way he does things.
Johnson couldn't get the bounce, and Tulane leading by 3, moving down to 5 minutes to go in the first half, and a must-have for Cincinnati. Taken away by Sanders. Cobb couldn't hit the leaner. And a needless foul from Kevin Johnson. 1-and-1 coming for Tulane. We talked about this being a must for Cincinnati, and the BPI hovering around 50. Joe Lunardi's got him as an 8 seed, but that's such a flexible position. If you lose this game, that BPI is going to.
Well, it is, and you know, we in today's world, it's all must wins, and 3 weeks. With 3 weeks left in the season, there's not a must win, really. In all reality, we get way ahead of ourselves with a lot of these things, but clearly it would be recommended that Cincinnati take care of business today. But listen, there's no automatics in this conference. Tulane has been a pesky opponent for everybody on their schedule.
4 to 5 analysts highly recommend winning this game. Is that what you're saying?
You know, listen, we don't want to put our boy Joe Lunardi out of business, but it's way too early to say who's locked in and who isn't.
Osikowski had a mind to take the 3. And instead they'll leave the shot clock down a little bit. Stark on the gas pedal, down the corner. Osikowski couldn't corral the rebound. Off the help. Johnson on the drive. Got the bounce.
A good degree of difficulty moved by Johnson. Good balance at the rim. Had Cobb on the perimeter if he'd have seen him wide open for the 3.
Defenses have owned the day so far in Cincinnati as we move under 4 minutes of the first half. 5-game losing streak for Tulane. Cincinnati off a loss to Temple after a big win against SMU. Tough jumper for Dabney. Stark on the kick to Hurley. Offensive board for Osikowski. And a whistle down low with 3:19 to go in the first half. Tulane in a grinder against Cincinnati with a 1-point lead on Valentine's Day. Sonic coming up Wednesday, 9 Eastern on ESPNU. The big one on Tobacco Road. Carolina Duke, 9 Eastern ESPN. Journey to the Tourney presented by Sonic. That one never gets old. It's always fun.
How about Pitt today? Firing on the offensive gears, and Pitt looking like they might make a late rush here in February to March. Not happy about not being up on the current Lunardi board.
Tulane's drought moving to 4.5 with the lead, 12-11. Quick passing, high-low, and a foul as they got the ball inside, leading to a couple free throws for Trey Dry.
That was a nice delivery from the foul line area. You see why Tulane put Peyton Hinson in the lineup. He has that skill needed against this matchup zone.
Who's the best passer you had in that position?
Well, as a forward, over the years, going way back, we had a guy named Billy Owens. He wore a little Syracuse orange, highly skilled at 6'9", could play a little point forward back in the day, and that's so important. You have a stretch fours, guys that can shoot the ball. I'd rather have a guy that can pass the ball at that position. That's what Peyton Hinson is. He's a very skilled 6'8" guy who is active, flashing into those gaps, and then can make that delivery pass.
Cobb takes it into his own hands. Got his own rebound. Mormon off the shot fake. Has two.
Sean Mormon making his presence felt against that zone. Very active as a guard.
Had the preseason foot injury last year. Was a red shirt. Now his first year on the floor in the program out of Richmond, Virginia. 5-on-4. Dabney from the corner. And Peyton Henson comes up with another rebound.
Cincinnati's guards doing a lot of gambling at the top, putting them at a disadvantage.
Jack Thomas had made 10 of his last 23s. That one wouldn't go for him. Maybe an extra pass from Hurley, who had an open look. Hook knocks down the three.
That is real good offense by Tulane. And we talked about the extra pass, but they made the extra. And Dry saw the door closed and kicked it outside, and then the driving quick kick to Hook.
One of the top 5 3-point shooters in Tulane history, Jay Hook, has 6. Well, we talked about Tulane's struggles offensively. The defense has been tremendous tonight.
It has, and their zone has really presented a lot of issues. Try to get into the gaps. Their guards have to be much more active. Just try to dribble, penetrate, and get the ball into the foul line and then kick it back out.
So Larry Davis calls the timeout, and Cincinnati 7th in turnover margin in the American.
Excellent. They made every play correctly, but today I don't know if they're ready for this ball game. A little lull in the crowd. They're not respecting Tulane like they should, but they should be after they got drubbed at Temple.
16-point loss on Tuesday on the road in Philly. Shot clock to game clock, about 2-second differential. And a foul by Hurley, a couple to give for Tulane. That's just the 5th of the half. Still one foul to give if they choose. Time for Hook into Cobb, nearly traveled, and they count the bucket.
First against Tulane earlier this year in football. So let's hope that they can get both teams can at least get the 40. And a little more spark needed on both ends offensively. Tulane's going to just grind this up. They'll take a 30-28 win if they can.
It's a big game for Cincinnati, trying to stay in 4th place in the American standings. A game behind Temple as play started today. Looks like Temple will have a win today, and it's out of bounds to Tulane.
And again, we've seen this from Cincinnati at times, and they just kind of come out and just kind of go through the motions a little bit in the first half, and then they catch a little fire from the coaching staff at halftime and put their foot down. But they'll be more efficient against this zone from Tulane.
Jonathan Stark just 2 in the first half. Dabney did not score, the leading 2-point guys on the Tulane roster. At the try screen. Dabney against Sanders. 3 to shoot. Lennon is good for Trey Dry. And Tulane has its largest lead at 8.
Wow, that is patience at its best. It looked like Dry wasn't aware of the shot clock, but he was. He was just trying to find that right angle and a little crack at the rim.
You said you wanted Cincinnati to be more efficient offensively. How do you do it against the 3-6?
Well, you've got to have more movement, not only with the ball, but their players, they're all just standing around. One guy has the ball, everyone else is watching.
Octavius Ellis has 6 of the 15 for Cincinnati.
You're easily guarded if you're standing still, but good move by Ellis in the middle of the floor.
Next to run for Cincinnati. Dabney's back against Cote, and the foul on Dabney, his first.
That's the other way to be more active and beat the zone and just get the ball up the court and attack the rim before the zone gets set. But again, at the end of the first half, Troy Copane drives in and throws the ball up on the rim, allowing Tulane to come down and score. Cincinnati should have taken the last shot of the half.
Ellis, a wild shot, trying to create offense however he can.
With a full shot clock, too. And again, not patient enough. Cincinnati.
Out of bounds to the Greenway.
A lack of experience in some games, Cincinnati. If things aren't going well, that's when the really lack of experience shows. When things are going well, everyone gets into a rhythm. Their guards get playing. Copane. Sanders is a pretty good leader as a senior. Gary Clark's active in the middle. Ellis can make some things happen, and Cobb can come in and be instant offense. But right now, nothing's working for Cincinnati. They just need a little spark, and has to start, I think, Jason, with their defense.
Well, you mentioned Clark, too. He's been the energy guy at points this year. He just picked up his third foul after only 8 minutes in the first half. So Cincinnati 17-7, 8-4 in the American. The BPI hovering around 50 as we play this game. And you said the first half, not a must win, but it's a recommended win for the Bearcats.
Absolutely. As you get down to this point of the season, it's looked at even with a larger microscope. But Cincinnati, it's not about winning today. It's about being more consistent as a basketball team. If they don't come out and win this game tonight, are they going to be able to turn it on and win consistently enough to get into the tournament?
Copane still scoreless, the leading scorer for Cincinnati. He's only taken one shot. That foul before the shot.
That was better ball movement by Cincinnati. You cannot hold the ball. You've got to keep moving the ball off the bounce and the pass, but also keep moving yourself and being active and making yourself a moving target and not letting yourself just stand still and be easily guarded on the perimeter by Tulane's zone.
There's a slam for Clark, his first bucket.
I like this young man. At times he disappears, but when he's active, presents himself, you see his footwork and his ability to finish with a flourish.
One of the best freshman rebounders for Cincinnati since Danny Fortson back in 1995. Energy starting to build in the arena.
It's building because Cincinnati is playing with more energy.
Smith got the tip. Stark measured the shot for a while, and the rebound to Johnson. Ellis lost it. Wiped away, it's a goal 10. The Jayhawk with 10. And Tulane makes it a 6-point game again.
Well, it was a nice job by Cincinnati rushing the ball up the floor and delivering it to Ellis, but then he puts the ball on the floor. And Tulane, they're very pesky today defensively. They have attacked Cincinnati's bigs when they've tried to make a move in traffic.
7 Cincinnati turnovers, 9 for Tulane. Foul inside against the Greenway. It's on Trey Dry. That's his third. Well, we talked about Tulane. There's not a lot of depth down low. That could help Cincinnati.
Well, Trey Dry is their toughness guy as well. He's their energy guy, and also not afraid to put a body on Octavius Ellis and Gary Clark, even though he's undersized.
Ellis with a step for 2 and a foul.
That's easy money for Octavius Ellis. He saw Ryan Smith guarding him one-on-one. He said, "Thank you very much."
Athens, Texas. Back and forth from Cincinnati.
Tulane has to make a major adjustment here on the baseline out of bounds play. They're getting caught in one-on-one coverage. First it was Gary Clark with the easy one. Now Ellis. And both on baseline out of bounds plays. Good strategy and good baseline plays by Cincinnati.
Henson with a run to the rim. Couldn't finish, and Osikowski draws a whistle.
Peyton Henson, a little explosion to the iron, trying to get on our Dunk Hall of Fame team, but a
Copain shoe. So Ellis has come off. And Osikowski, a 53% foul shooter, goes 2 for 2.
Back in their matchup zone. Josh Hurley at the top at 6'8", using his length.
Overplayed on Copain. Nice recovery. Osikowski called for the foul. That's his second personal. Tulane with a 25-20 lead on the road at Cincinnati, trying to break a 5-game losing streak.
This was seen a couple years ago before he became ineligible. He was starting to surge for Mike Gray, but this Notre Dame team is playing with so much confidence right now. I mean, they're offensively really hard to defend. They put 4 shooters out on the perimeter, and tougher than people give them credit for defensively.
So with Octavius Ellis back in the locker room with an apparent leg injury, where do you go if you're Cincinnati?
Well, you've got to keep moving the ball and get balance here, and again, they're going too fast on the offensive end with trying to make one-on-one moves against a set defense. I think you can still go inside. You can go to Shaq Thomas. He can present himself in the middle lane. He can make moves. But right now, Cincinnati in that last possession just kind of stood around again. The ball moved, but the players didn't.
Bearcats had over the half, 3 out of 5. They got 7 points at a halftime after 13 in the first half, a season low. And that's the third foul on Coriante DeBerry, the junior transfer from Holland, Michigan. So 3 on DeBerry, 3 on Clark, and Ellis is injured. Post-depth an issue for Cincinnati.
Excuse me, Jason. The problem, I think, for Cincinnati defensively on the front line is their bigs aren't ready to play defense until the man catches the ball. They're letting the bigs of Tulane get position inside. They've got to do their work before Tulane makes moves to the rim or in that vacuum area against the zone, because they're getting pretty good movement, Tulane.
What do you mean ready to play?
Well, they've got to be in a stance. They've got to beat them to the spot. They cannot give up the spot, then play defense, as they did right there again.
There's Octavius Ellis with the wrap on his right knee. And that sleeve with Ellis watching on, sitting with the Cincinnati training staff. Peyton Henson now to the free throw line for Tulane, but what a big loss. Ellis has 9 of the 20 for Cincinnati.
Well, and again, you take everything, you over-analyze it, and it's not like Tulane is carving up Cincinnati's defense. They have 25 points here with 14:53 to go in the game. So it's like, you know, they're doing a little bit better job on the offensive end than Cincinnati is. So that's all you need, though, because Cincinnati has just been dreadful on the offensive end. They just can't get anything going against the zone.
DeBerry hammers it home.
Well, that's why Cincinnati likes Jermaine Sanders. Just that ability, that willingness, that ability to find that, thread the needle against the zone.
You can tell DeBerry has some love of the dunk in him with that hard hit on the rim, and now a 4-point game. Osikowski, the offensive rebound, and he got fouled. You said in the first half, just a little more help from the bigs for Tulane.
Well, and right there, no one puts a body on Dylan Osikowski. Watch on the weak side here, he just comes in, he just floats in. He kind of gives Shaq Thomas a little forearm in the back, and I'm going to be power, play the power game, and you're not.
The third foul on Shaq Thomas. Third Cincinnati player with 3 fouls. Osikowski went over the back that time.
Well, he got away with it on the last possession where he shoved Thomas under the rim. And But good call by Jose Carrion on the perimeter. Not a good sign that he's just sitting next to the trainer. He's ready yet. Let's come back in. Tulane sticking to their guns. They're just going to sit in that zone, and they're not just sitting in it though. They're very active and they're long. You see, they're in a stance and cutting off the passing lanes.
Barry couldn't get the roll, but he will head to the free throw line.
That's how you beat the zone. You've got to move it and then drive it into the gap before the defense shifts, and then as you draw to defend. Nice job inside because he's got a big frame and he's a big target, but he's become a moving target. And he's getting wide inside and he's calling for the ball and sliding into the open area. As the ball moves and the defense moves, Corrente DeBerry is also moving. He's reading the defense and sliding into that open area. The worst thing he can do as a big man against his zone is just stand still. But he's moving and he's got a pretty good feel from the back, and Cincinnati's doing a good job of finding him.
Two-point game. Cincinnati scored the last 4. John Mack couldn't handle it. Copain ties it with the layup.
Well, the pressure of Cincinnati, it has to be amped up. They have to find a way to energize not only him.
Happy Valentine's Day, partner.
Richard's actually on our tree. I don't know if he knows that. He never gives us any credit. He only credits that guy, I don't know, other guy named Patino and Donovan. But we were the first guy to give him a chance. No, I discovered him, not his dad. His dad didn't see any talent.
Dad didn't see the coaching class.
He used to just help his dad at the track in Saratoga.
Henson gave up the 3. Dabney, quick feed. Henson couldn't finish on the torch tap. Copain on the slice. Cincinnati leads for the first time since 5-4.
Well, the tale of two halves. Cincinnati now sparked and energized and starting with their press.
So what do you do if you're Tulane?
Just settle down. It's still well within their reach. If the tempo becomes to their liking again, just probe this defense. Get Cincinnati kind of laying back in that zone a little bit. That's the key.
Way to shoot. Dabney waiting for the ball to come down. Then couldn't handle the tough pass. Turnover, Tulane.
Cincinnati not only has been the press, but I think they've attacked the zone better by looking inside to DeBerry, and he's finished plays, and that's allowed them to set up the pressure.
DeBerry in for Octavius Ellis, who's on the bench with a leg injury. Mormon in the drive. And a foul. Mormon's going to the free throw line. Cincinnati has scored the last 8, turning defense into offense. The Bearcats
just not standing around against this Tulane zone.
When you say grit, what are you seeing on the court?
Well, just, that pop when you catch the ball, get yourself into a triple threat position. It's easy just to pass the ball around against the zone and stand in non-scoring areas. Tulane's going to let Cincinnati do that. And then the hard thing to do is attack and then find that gap, find that angle to get yourself not only an angle to score, but an angle to pass, draw the defense, present 2 defenders, and then kick to an open man. And that's what Cincinnati's done better this half.
Empty for Mormon, 0 for 2. And Tulane trailing for the first time since the opening minutes. J-Hook has 10 of the 26 for Tulane. We're playing time today for Keith Pinckney, the freshman. Out of bounds, and Tulane will keep with 12 to shoot. Cincinnati without Octavius Ellis. to the sideline a couple of minutes ago. Came down awkwardly looking for a rebound, and he has been out for the last 4 minutes. Coriante DeBerry has taken over that playing time.
He is playing. He's got a little look on his face. He says, I'm going to get the minutes now. I'm going to take advantage. DeBerry, very active defensively, moving well, staying low.
One to shoot. Pinckney didn't know it.
I'll give Larry Davis a ton of credit at halftime. Went to his ball club, I'm sure, and said, listen, this team's not laying down. They didn't come into this building today. They came in to win. So we've got a challenge in our hands. We're going to have to play basketball, and Cincinnati's come out much more focused and determined in the second half.
A follow there from Mormon on the offensive glass on his own shot.
Well, focus first, flashing in, finding Mormon at the foul line, then determination on the follow-up at the rim.
Pinckney in a hurry. Had it taken away by Sanders. Sanders, the trailer. And he draws the foul on the one-handed rebound.
Jermaine Sanders needs to get a little more legs in his three, but as a whole, Cincinnati has been energized. You can see Mormon as a guard flashing to the high post. Good move by him, getting the ball into that area, and then the follow-up.
Without Octavius Ellis, Cincinnati's made up 7 points, trailing by 3, now up 4.
The two guys at the end of their rotation, Coriante DeBerry and Deshaun Mormon, in my opinion, have been the spark plugs for Cincinnati.
All the way to the rim, Keith Pinckney for his first bucket.
It's the first time Tulane look to attack that press and go to score to burn Cincinnati.
13 Tulane turnovers. Mormon gets it back. Cobb launches. Didn't get the roll, and a foul on the rebounding action to Barry. If that's him, it's his 4th.
That's so important because Larry Davis has made a nice adjustment. He's now with a smaller lineup here in the second half. Put Jermaine Sanders at the 4. Basically played with 4 guards out there on the court. And now they're going with Gary Clark. And now nice to see Ellis back in the game.
But the way he was helped off the court, it looked like he might be out for a little bit longer than just a couple of minutes. But Ellis back with Clark, the starting bigs for Cincinnati.
Well, the concerning thing was that he came back to the bench and didn't go right back in, but I think it was more related to Coriante DeBerry's play. He's been outstanding so far in the second half for Larry Davis.
Good zip on the pass. Couldn't handle it down low. Trey Fry turns it over. Cocaine off the screen from Clark. Gary Clark has the rebound for 2.
Clark immediately making his presence felt. First with a real good solid ball screen at the top, then the follow-up.
Top 10 freshman rebounder in the country, Gary Clark from Clayton, North Carolina, outside of Raleigh. Hook off the mark. Run out for Cobb. Stop and start. And he missed the wild shot. Hook. Boy, Stark got a little lackadaisical on that rebound. Cobb, the alley-oop for the slam to Ellis.
Used to see a lot of that from Mick Cronin's teams. They always seem to have somebody that's flying above the rim.
22 points the last 3 games for Octavius Ellis. He has 11 today. And now Tulane has to come from behind. Stark the pull-up. Big shot for Jonathan Stark, who has 4.
Well, Jonathan Stark, that's what he has to do, just be more aggressive. And Tulane, to the credit, playing unselfishly at times, but they had a 3-on-1, got to the rim, passed it back out. Ed Conroy said, what are we doing? Let's just attack when we have an advantage.
Clark across the lane, out of bounds, and it's going to Tulane.
The crowd has settled down a bit. Stark got a bucket, so let's see if attack this pressure, get it up the floor, and look to burn it before they get set.
No trap came. Cobb with Stark with 8 minutes to go. Cincinnati trying to avoid back-to-back losses after falling at Temple on Tuesday. To shoot. Osikowski didn't hit the rim, and Cincinnati allowed to break. Travel called off the feed from Mormon. 34-30 Cincinnati, celebrating for love of the dunk.
Oh, you can dunk when you can get the ball right in front of the rim. They've done a much better job of protecting and then outletting for transition baskets.
So what does Tulane need to do the final 7.5 to come back?
Well, first of all, attack this press and just play back on their heels. Get up and attack it. Try to go to score against it.
Dabney, the leading scorer for Tulane, has no points today. Drive and kick for Dabney, out of bounds. It's staying with the Green Wave.
Nice job by Farad Cobb not to gamble on the perimeter on Lewis Dabney. Just play solid defense. And Dabney found the open man in the corner. They're going to knock that down. Tulane.
Touched again by Cincinnati, but Dabney, very good three-point shooter, top 5 in the American, 5th best free throw shooter, hasn't found his way to the line at all. He's 0 for 7 from the floor.
I don't blame Lewis Dabney for coming out and playing poorly. I think it's been more about Cincinnati's defense. They've been really loading up on him and concentrating, understanding he is the key to their offense.
Dabney from the corner, got the three.
Oh, shake and shimmy after that one. He said, finally, let's go. Feeling it now.
5 in a row for the Green Wave, 1-point game. Cincinnati, a tournament team as it stands right now to Joe Lunardi, but would be an important win today to avoid a loss to Tulane with a BPI in the 160s. Hook lines up a three and cashes in.
Payne said, are you serious? I mean, he was up on him. He closed out and contest, but the rise up above, Tulane's guards have that ability, both Dabney and Hook.
8 in a row for Tulane. And the three-point shooting starting to...
Certainly, they've had the talent to play. They played with pretty much everybody in this conference. And this afternoon is a good example of Tulane's talent, how well coached they are, and how feisty and determined they are.
And certainly Cincinnati some chances down the stretch too. The game against Xavier coming up Wednesday. They'll play at Tulsa as well. So absolutely not a game that you're out if you lose, but it's one that you'd like to have to build some momentum, well, right?
Yeah, exactly, but it's also more alarming basketball-wise for the big picture. I mean, in a game, coming off a loss, you need to win. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but you need to win it. If you can't deliver the win, then how good are you? Are you consistent enough to really get enough wins down the stretch to get into the tournament? Because by no means, I mean, there's probably a dozen to 20 teams that are absolutely locks that are going to get in the tournament. You've seen them all season long play. They're going to be there. But then there's that other half that this is a very soft bubble this year. There's a lot of teams that are still in play. So if you struggle down the stretch, you're going to be out of luck.
Cincinnati's 4 out of 10 from the free throw line this afternoon. We're under 6 to play.
Cincinnati. A little bit more active, their hands up into Tulane, stretching their defense, protecting the line.
Ellis with that length forcing Hook to give it up. Dabney late in the shot clock. Offensive rebound for Dry. Trying to extract the ball. He turns it over.
Okay, Dry's got to go right back up with that.
Cobb ties the game using the glass.
You know, when you're 6'6", 225, you made all that extra effort just to get the offensive rebound. Go pump fake. Get to the iron. Get it up on the rim. Somehow, some way, Trey Dry.
Just our second tie today. Hook soaring in. The follow is up and good. Peyton Henson on the glass.
That's what dribble penetration does. That was started by a nice move by Jay Hook. Couldn't finish, but on the backside, no rotations, rebounding-wise, blockout-wise by Cincinnati on Henson.
Mormon's had a nice game scoring for Cincinnati. He has 8.
Because Larry Davis has put him in a real good position, flashing him into the elbow as a guard.
Hook with a drive-by on Ellis. And a foul called against Mormon down low. Don't forget, Sunday at noon on ESPNU, women's college basketball. Rebound game for South Carolina off the loss to Connecticut in the SEC against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Women's college basketball Sunday at noon on ESPNU.
Yeah, it's so hard as a coach, too. You just love a guy like Trey Dry. Just that extra effort. You know, he just pounds his body inside. He's undersized as a four-man, but when you catch the ball in traffic, an offensive rebound, the defense is out of position. You have to somehow find an angle to get the ball up on the rim and hopefully make the bucket or at least draw a foul.
How about the day for Jay Hook? With a grand total now of 15. He had just 19 combined the last 3 games, and he's really turned it on today.
Well, he likes to slide to that corner and set himself up for the 3, but he's...
You had a ruling crowd, didn't you?
Come on. No rabbit ears. Play on.
Johnson had an open look. Pitch into the post for Ellis. He created the contact and gets one more.
This is where Tulane in the first half did a much better job of closing the gap when the ball did go inside to Octavius Ellis and the bigs of Cincinnati. They had support from the weak side, but here Ellis gets one-on-one coverage from Trey Dry. Too big, too strong, too athletic.
4th foul on Trey Dry. Ellis just 3 short of his career high. Misses the free throw. We're tied again at 40 this time. Hook from long range. Tulane leads again.
That is excellent offense by Tulane, and Cincinnati bid on the pass penetration in the high post. They turned in. Tulane turned out for the 3.
Jay Hook with 18 points of the 43 for Tulane. Where does Cincinnati go?
Keep going inside. I like they have Sanders at the foul line.
Cobb on the slice for 2. And Farad Cobb with 6. He's had a great February scoring-wise.
Both teams now attacking that elbow foul line area of the zone, shrinking the defense and going back outside and back inside.
Johnson charging hard, got a hand on it. And we hit a timeout. Tulane with a 1-point lead thanks to long-range shooting.
Going inside, shrink the defense. Not only that, they're only 2 games out of first. You know, and they swept SMU, so they're playing for a lot still. And of course, the resume is very meaningful. You know, we don't want to discredit it. It's more important to keep playing well and feeling good about yourself down the stretch. But right now, they're in a dogfight because Tulane has answered pretty much every challenge from Cincinnati.
5 to shoot. Cobb the rebound.
Not the shot Tulane wanted, but it was necessary as the clock was winding down.
Cobb, catch and shoot. Cincinnati still is over from 3-point range, over 13. And Stark finishes and gives Tulane a 3-point lead.
Well, that's the issue, and the point guard dribble penetrates and shoots the ball in the lane from the top. Someone must rotate back defensively, and no one did on that possession for Cincinnati. You'll see Farad Cobb, he dribble penetrates into the gap, makes a nice move, a good scoring move. From the top, actually, that was from the wing.
ESPN, it's Wednesday Night Hoops presented by PNC Bank. That should be a dandy in Stillwater.
Every night is a dandy in that conference, for sure, but this game has turned into a dandy as well.
Sanders lines it up. Ellis, a strong rebound for the Bearcats. Double team comes, forced him to give it up. Basket does not count. Dabney to foul first.
I thought Octavius Ellis might take the ball into the lane, but Tulane did a good job of just closing up and digging down on the big man. Payne doing a good job of drawing foul.
We jump to the SEC coming up next. Roughly 4 Eastern when we're done here, and then Oklahoma State, TCU, and back to the SEC after that is Copain, the second best free throw shooter in the American, misses.
No legs on that shot, and no legs on any of the jumpers by Jermaine Sanders. Just kind of stiff legging up on the rim.
Cincinnati 5 of 13 from the line today. Pressure on for Cincinnati. Off the Osakowski screen. Dabney gave it up. Tulane trying to minimize possessions here. 10 to shoot. Start floater. Missed it.
Tulane never got into their offense. They struggled to get it over the line, and they never got any movement. Give Cincinnati's guards a ton of credit for just great containment on the perimeter.
Ellis pick and roll. Sizes it up and scores.
That's good offense by Octavius Ellis. He just kind of looked at Osakowski and said, "You're going to give me this? I'm going to take it."
Cobb, the back tap, took it away. And the finish for Clark.
Just got to be more consistent, but again, he's just a freshman. Tulane has to get into their offense a lot sooner. They've got to get the ball into the high post, get a little ball movement, a little player movement. They haven't done that in the last 2 possessions.
Stark keeps it himself. Headed blocked by Ellis.
You're not going to beat Cincinnati or win this game by doing that. And good effort, but they've got to get everybody involved. Get Cincinnati's defense focused on the entire 5, not just one man.
Third best block man in the American Conference, Octavius Ellis, wiped it away.
But that's easier said than done. Cincinnati is pressuring the ball, and they're taking away passing lanes in the zone. So Tulane's got to get some movement.
Osakowski ties the game.
Confusion by Gary Clark and Octavius Ellis on the backside of the zone. They didn't shift and match up properly. Both of them were guarding one man, and no one was guarding Dylan Osakowski.
So now Larry Davis will talk it over as Osakowski has started as an 8 seed fairly comfortably. So if you win out, you're likely going to be in, especially if you win the conference tournament, you're definitely going to be in. So Cincinnati wants to get back in the win column. Tie game down to 20 seconds to go.
Let's see what Ed Conroy does now. He's matched up in man-to-man. Let's see if he switches back to the zone at the end of the clock. They're running the clock down. Looks like a high ball screen. Gary Clark, Troy Copain.
Payne dumps it off. Clark goes Cincinnati in the lead.